So let's take a closer look at the session. This next part assumes some rudimentary knowledge in Pro Tools already, a basic understanding of how to create tracks, how to route tracks, and understanding of busing. There are a number of tutorials that you could look up these fundamentals if these concepts are new to you, but hopefully by the end of this explanation, and also when you see the supplied files, this session will be supplied as part of this class. You'll be able to go in there and have a look and see how the things have been set out. And so without further ado, let's take a look at the session. Over here, we have the video track, and beneath it, we have a guide track, which we've set to mute. Now, a guide track is typically supplied with the videos from the editor. Gives you a good indication as to what the director and the editor were thinking about when they set up the basic tone and the mood of a scene. But we've got that set to mute because we've got all of our lovely tracks down here, which we will go through in just a moment. Because this is a stereo session, we've got everything routing through a stereo master bus, which has a limiter on it, and I've just dipped the limiter down to minus 0.08. It'll keep the track loud, but it will catch any loud sounds from peaking out our master recording and causing the track to clip. Now, beneath that, we have our dialogue tracks. Here we have ADR, which is any recordings that we did after the fact to either enhance a line or to replace a line that wasn't recorded clearly, or to add lines to increase the drama of the scene. And we'll take a closer look at those a little later on. Beneath that, we have our dialogue tracks, which were recorded on set, and those have been routed into a dialogue stereo bus, which we have down here. These are our Sebastian tracks, and Sebastian is the character who's screaming on the bed, and I've just gone through and created some additional reverby tracks to enhance the sound that we have, and those are routed into the Sebastian bus down here, which gives us a little bit of separate control of the volume of those embellishments. Music tracks, which are also routed into a music bus, and as you can see, these are left blank because we did not use any music in this scene. By all means, add your own music and fill these tracks in any way that you like. I've just got them there because you typically have those tracks in a mix session. Here we have our sync effects, which are also routed into their own sync bus, and sync effects are any sound effects which were recorded on the day with the dialogue, and we separate them from the dialogue because when you deliver to, say, foreign markets, if they want to replace the English dialogue with whatever native language of that country, you typically just want to be able to delete the dialogue tracks and still have, all of your main sound effects in place. And that's why we separate those. Now, beneath those, we have our mono sound effects tracks, and these are different sound effects that we've used to embellish the scene, and we'll take a closer look at those in a moment, and a stereo track over here. These have all been routed into a stereo bus called effects. And as you can see, we've done a slight bit of voluming there, which affect all of these globally. Beneath that, we have our Foley tracks, and here we have cloth movements, footsteps, spots, which are any smaller details like the door handling and the hands and the body in the bed, and other little embellishments, which are all routed into this Foley bus over here. And then beneath that, we have our background sounds. We have some winds and some room tone, which were recorded on the day, and some other little bits of howling winds, which have all been routed into this Atmos BGs track. And BG, of course, stands for backgrounds. We have a sub-bass track here, where we have a 50 Hertz tone, which is just a flat sine wave of a very deep rumble, which we feature throughout this film to build tension, and that's also routed into its own sub-bus. And then, as you can see over here, there are no background tracks for the first half of the scene, and this is because, as part of the concept for this particular film, we used a lot of the recordings that NASA made of different planet sounds. We wanted to give each individual character their own zodiac signature, and using the planets and the sounds that they make basically guide, build, and dissipate tension where required. And we have these Space Jam tracks over here, which have been routed into the space bus over here. And as you can see, we've given this a little bit of a volume graph movement, which basically builds and declines depending on the tension that we want to experience. If we go up here to the I/O, we can take a closer look at how the buses have been set up. So we have dialogue, Sebastian, music, effects. We have a Walla track as well. Walla is typically like background talking and like crowd effects and things, which we didn't use in this sequence, but that bus exists just in case we want to dial it up. And then we've got the master output. So now that we've taken a close look at the session and the number of tracks and the routing in that session, let's have a look at the tracks themselves and see the type of content that we recorded and designed to build the scene.